All right, morning everyone. Let's get going. Right, we finally had a reasonably strong session out of the U.S. markets last night. S&P obviously leading the charge up about 0.75%. Really what got everything going was the meetings from the FOMC and the comments by Chairwoman Yellen, and basically just reiterating how dovish she is, reiterating the fact that rates would stay low for a long time. I think markets were a little bit skittish going into the meeting after the surprise that John Carney gave the, is it Mark or John? Gave the BOE in the UK the previous week, saying that the Bank of England is going to have to raise rates sooner than expected. And he also actually came out 2 days ago and said he was surprised that markets didn't see it coming. So a lot of people, I think, were a bit worried that she was going to come in, either accelerate the taper or, talk about rate hikes or something like that for the first time. Really just reiterated how dovish she is, saying that firstly, to assure that rates would remain low for a considerable amount of time, and that secondly, that economic growth was picking up nicely. So that was the only change to her statement, which we really already knew, and I think obviously hasn't really changed a whole lot in the eyes of the market. All right, we got a little bit of follow-through overnight out of the Asian markets, especially the Nikkei and the Aussie. The Aussie market was led up by the mining stocks. For the first time, we really got a push higher. We came at a rebound on iron ore prices. Copper prices actually have kind of sunk back down this morning to underneath 305, but definitely got a big boost out of Rio, BHP, Fortescue, all of the big boys that are listed there really ran up nicely. And we also had some of the exporters in Japan, which ran pretty hard. Shanghai was the one real laggard, down almost about 1%. So. We'll have to see this morning. I'm sure we'll be able to get some sort of follow through. Obviously, futures are up about 290 points, but don't forget it's closeout today, so that's really going to be a big driver of markets. This is a chart of the VIX, and really moving to, if I'm not mistaken, it actually touched an all-time low last night. If it wasn't an all-time low, it's like a 15-year low or something crazy, some big number. And we traded down to 1061 to close out the session yesterday. I mean, that's incredible. We were down over 12% yesterday, and really, everybody's kind of waiting for this pickup in volatility that just never comes, and the lack of volatility actually has really been feeding on itself. So this is quite spectacular. This is something that you don't see very often, and just kind of puts us in light of where the market really is at the moment, which is very comfortable and what's going on globally and economically at the moment. So the VIX continuing to drop levels, and at some point that's going to be a monster opportunity, I'm sure. All right. This morning we had a couple downgrades out of Investec. We had Woolies that was cut to hold versus buy at Investec. We had Mr. Price that was cut to sell versus hold at Investec. We also had Foschini that was raised to equal weight versus underweight at Barclays. That also comes on the back of a lot of downgrades that we saw from some of the investment banks yesterday. If I'm not mistaken, JP Morgan came out and they cut South African equities to underweight versus equal weight, and then you also had, I think it was Credit Suisse, it was Bank of America Merrill Lynch that came out and downgraded the retail sector here locally yesterday. So definitely saw a little bit of pressure in some of the interest rate sensitive stocks yesterday. That being said, we got better numbers. I think it was on the trade balance yesterday, and which really gave a nice spurt to the REN. Probably caught a lot of people short on the REN, and then obviously we got a little bit of follow through on the back of that because of the bullish result out of the U.S. equity markets last night. All right. Market data out today. We had the Japanese All Industry Activity Index, which is a touch softer month on month this morning. We have retail sales out of the UK. We've got initial jobless claims, which is obviously the big one. We're expecting 316 there at 2:30 today. Then we've got Bloomberg Consumer Comfort, the Philly Fed Business Outlook, and the leading index numbers in the States. So we've got quite a bit of data in the States, but nothing really leading up to that today. So we'll kind of be following action, like we said. It's close out today, so that's really going to drive everything. Let's jump into the maps here. The one thing that I would just I would say is just be careful. Like we said, it is closeout. The charts are going to mean less today than they mean on any other day during the year. So, we're going to show some stuff here, but just keep that in mind. We showed this one yesterday. We showed Harmony yesterday, really dropping. The interesting thing was, and this thing really just gave us some bearish confirmation yesterday, simply because the gold price really ran into the afternoon session, and Harmony actually kind of got weaker. So, we've really confirmed a drop out of that bear flag, and looking like we can really take out recent lows and possibly even go to test the lows of the year, maybe even more. All right, let's look at Able. Able, very much the same sort of thing yesterday in the afternoon. You can see there, we'll zoom it forward a little bit, but dropped out of a bear flag formation as well. Came back up to kind of test or get close to testing, what is resistance, and really just bouncing up and dropping out another bear flag yesterday. Hasn't taken out the lows, but I think if we take out $7 and Able, I think this thing can accelerate to the downside again. I know a lot of people have been bottom picking on this one, so just be careful there. All right, Nedbank. This is maybe a little bit rough and maybe a little bit presumptuous, but this thing to me is making a little bit of a tilted head and shoulders pattern here. And as you can see there, I think if we do drop 225 in Nedbank, then I would definitely be looking to possibly put on a short here, and it would definitely be looking a little bit head and shoulderish. We had a lot of the banks make reversals yesterday, along with the retail sector. The interest rate sensitive space really got hammered, sold off aggressively in a lot of the stocks, single stocks in particular. But we haven't seen any multiple days of follow through in months since I can remember in that sector. So just be wary of that. I think if we do get a second day of follow through today on some of those stocks, I think it'll be real confirmation that we can maybe see some lower prices for once in some of the retail or some of the interest rate sensitive space. Right. Amplats. We're just going to zoom this forward here a little bit and look quite closely here. You can see we talked about this a while back, in that we popped up above it slightly, or attempted to pop up above it, and couldn't quite get above this 480 level on a closing basis. But you can see that we're making a little bit of an inverse head and shoulder pattern in Amplats, and we've just broken above 480. That should give us a target to depends on if you're a close guy or a wick guy, but on a close, it should give us a target of around 510. And if you're looking at wicks, it should give us a target up around 520. So just keep that in mind. Definitely outperforming outperforming Impalas. I know Lawman's played a little bit of catch up in the last few sessions, but definitely has been grossly outperforming Impalas over the last little bit, and it seems like the big investment banks still like this one over Impalas. All right, and the last one I'm going to show is Bidvest. Bidvest also looking a little bit head and shoulderish as well. I know it's a little bit rough, but or a little bit flat on the shoulders, but you can definitely see there's a real period of consolidation here on either side. Kind of looking at a bit like a shoulder line, and you can see, dropping below 280, I think, would be significant. We obviously came down and tested it yesterday. In fact, I think you can probably go so far as to draw it a bit more like that, and the fact that, and maybe we have dropped out the bottom. But I think if this thing drops 280, I definitely think that you can say that it's dropping out of this formation a little bit, and probably has a bit lower target. Either way, it's definitely dropped to some sort of technical support here, and possibly a little bit lower target in Bidvest. And that's it for today, guys. Thanks a lot.